let's quickly go over the Olympia coming up.
Yes.
It's in 2 days. 2 days. This
Crazy.
is exciting. All right, so you and I went down to Tennessee for Brandon's gym opening at Carbon Culture. We're obviously huge fans of Brandon Curry. I love him. I love what he's done in the position as an ambassador of Mr. Olympia. Honestly, don't think anyone has done a better job, especially considering the epidemic, pandemic, whatever. He's done a great job at being positive, and what a super guy he is. And he continues to improve. I've seen a few updated photos, as has everyone else. We're not even sure if they are when they say they are, but Brandon is a true professional. He's put his heart and soul into this. And it wouldn't surprise me if he was able to pull it off, which is strange hearing that, considering he's the reigning Mr. Olympia. That being said, we have Phil Heath coming back, a 7-time Mr. Olympia, who I just find it hard to believe that anyone can beat him. If his injuries healed and 100% better, or even 90% better, the quality and 3D type of physique that Phil possesses is unmatched. It really is. So my pick is going to be Phil to win, come back in dramatic style and steal it from Brandon. Although I would love to see Brandon come back better than he has, which he's continually done for the last few years, and retain his title. But I think, just being a fan, just being a bodybuilding person, from what I've seen and what I know, I think it's going to be hard for anyone to beat Phil. So I'm going to have Phil and Brandon top 2.
Yep.
I'm going to throw in, if Hadi, have you seen some pictures of Hadi, how big he is?
Yeah. So that's the big variable is, now we know he made it into the country. So he's here. That variable's gone. And last year they were still teetering on, does he do 212 or does he do open? Right. So I feel like that had to come into play of the month or so before, how hard do you push to get him in that line where he's within reach, to make 212. And it seems like they made the decision last year, like the week of,
Right.
We're going to go open. Right. So you have to assume with how, as well as he did last year, that they're saying we're definitely going open and we can grow. We don't have to worry about coming back down to make 212.
Right.
So you have to think he's put on some size. And the photos I've seen, it was like him showing off his quad or something.
Yeah.
And it was crazy.
Yeah. It's like,
and even the airport photos with him with the Rock t-shirt on, for being days out, right? Like 3 days out from when he's going to compete. I've seen you 3 days out, and you're a much smaller version of the Jose walking around at 30,
Yeah.
He still looked crazy big at 3 days out. So, what's your guess? Do you think he's going to come in north of 220?
I hope not too much more than 220. My assumption was that he was probably somewhere around 216 last year. Because I know I've competed with Hadi and I know what he looks like at 211, 209. And he looks humongous. So it wouldn't behoove him to be too heavy, because then he loses what makes him so special, which is the detail everywhere. So I don't think he's going to be too much. I would say around 220, 222 tops. I'd say if he's 225 to 230, it's probably a bit much for him, just because he's so short and it'll start throwing off his aesthetics. But I'd like to see a 220 shredded, peeled down version of him. And that'll be a danger.
Does that beat Bonac this year where it didn't last year?
Well, I think he should have beat him last year. I think he's bigger than Bonac. Bonac's, maybe a little rounder through the arms and pecs, or just but nowhere else. And Bonak's maybe an inch taller. I think as far as completeness, Hottie's got crazy shots. He doesn't have the short torso like Bonak. So when he hits a front lat spread, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
I think he can beat Bonak. But then again, Bonak was down last year and had an injury. And if he's healed up and comes in full blown, then he could be another guy that jumps up to possibly beat Brandon.
Yep. He's certainly beat Brandon before.
Exactly.
And a really good Brandon too. We're not talking beat Brandon 4 years ago. We're talking recently. So yeah.
When Brandon won the Arnold Classic, I was there covering it, and I actually had Bonak winning. And I told Brandon that. I'm like, I'm sorry, bro. I'm like, I actually picked Bonak to win this because he was so full and round. It was crazy. But yeah, that's going to be my top 4.
Who do you have in the 5th spot? Who are you going with there?
Well, so here's my thing. If Rami's not good enough to be top 3, then he's not going to be good enough to be top 5. Because he's going to either be 1st or 2nd or 6th or 7th. That's where it falls. You know what I mean? He doesn't just fall into 4th for me. Rami's either winning or he's way off. And still being way off is like 6, 7, something like that,
Right.
But if he's off enough where Bonak or Hottie can beat him, then I'm going to throw Dexter and even Labrada, Hunter in front of Rami. That, but if Rami's the best we've ever seen, then he possibly wins.
That's a huge variable in that, you have the Chad card of Rami looked better at the Arnold, but not as good as everyone would hope. And Chad sort of said, I take ownership. I figured something out about carving him up that he's like, no one else, problem solved. The next time is going to be it, right? So I feel like if he doesn't nail it this time with Chad, his stock goes way down. And I think the only way we ever have this intrigue again of talking about Rami being a contender is if he somehow went back with Aceto, where I think he had his best look, right? But if he's off again with Chad, where Chad basically was like, won't happen again. I realize his body uses carbs differently than anyone. It sounds like he doesn't need a lot of carbs, right? People are carbing him up because he's 300 pounds and you don't need to, you almost need to bring him in flat. So the details there. And so if it could be that Chad's right and whatever it is, he nails it. And Rami's now in that 1st, 2nd spot. Worst case scenario, 3rd, because Brandon and Phil are just so ridiculous and you just don't know where to put them, But he beats Bonak and Hottie. I agree with you on that. I don't think there's but if he doesn't nail it this time, I feel like his stock goes way down. He's there on a special invite. He could have done shows before, waited to the last minute. So this is a big one for him in terms of, I think, how we all view him as a threat to win this thing.
Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with the Chad to Chris thing. I put this more solely on the shoulders of Rami. You've had every coach. You've had every person available to help you. If he doesn't nail it here, Chad has a great track record with his guys. You're not going to fool him twice. And if he's not able to nail this version of Rami, then Rami's got to look himself in the mirror. I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so much your coach can do. They're there to make sure you don't do dumb shit. And if Rami's doing dumb shit when Chad's not around, we don't know that. Is he doing everything 100% of what he's supposed to? We'll find out in 2 days. We'll see. And if there's a new crazy version of Rami, then it will be a wonderful, amazing thing, man. If not, I don't know that Chad will have another chance,
Right.
because Rami's so known for just jumping ship and going to the next guy that he thinks can help him.
Yep.
When ultimately it's up to him. It is Rami's job to get ready. These guys can only help so much. That's why I hate seeing coaches take all the credit. We did it. We did, no, you're the one who did it. Your coach is there to help and make sure you don't do dumb shit.
Right.
And make sure guide you in the right way, but don't get it twisted. The competitor did all the work. He ate all those meals, did all that cardio, trained hard, did all the right things. So ultimately, when Rami does win, it's all on him. And when he loses, it's all on him. I wouldn't blame Chad or Chris or Abdullah or anyone in the past that's worked with him or whatever. This is up to Rami. I hope to God that we get to see a crazy version of Rami. Like, imagine Rami in Hadi's condition. Could anyone ever
be lights out? Yep.
Yeah.
There's still structurally, I personally think he needs to stop training quads or doing whatever he's doing to his quads if it's something beyond training, but because they're just so big, it's with not enough detail and so. But I agree, him coming in Hadi condition, how do you not give the show to him if he's the biggest and hardest guy and he still has that taper of a smaller waist? He wins.
I wanna almost disagree with that. Everyone says the quads are too big. How about you just run them to death? Put them on the step mill twice a day, 40 minutes twice a day. Get him as conditioned as humanly possible. Those legs hold a ton of water and a little bit of fat that's left over. How about get him in the ultimate of condition? Those legs will come down just by accident.
Has he ever worked with Hani Rambod?
What?
Big Rami. Has he ever worked with Hani?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It just made me think of when we interviewed Jay on the podcast, and you asked him, what did you do differently in 09? Right? Because it was such a different look. And he said, I did the stair mill twice a day for 45 minutes. I'd never done it. And Hani had me do this, and that's the infamous quad stomp where his legs were on a whole other level.
Yeah. Well, I used to do that regularly. That was part of my routine to get me silly shredded. And I never lost leg size because of it. They would be shrink wrapped, and that's all Rami needs. He needs to be absolutely inside out, shrink wrapped, and then those legs won't look as ridiculous. They won't overpower his physique because you'll see every nook and cranny, and it'll be that much more impressive. And then if his legs come down, it's not like he has a 29-inch waist.
Right.
Probably got a 38-inch waist. So if his legs come down, it's not going to help his taper. He just needs to be sharper. That's all. They don't need to be smaller. Embrace the freakiness. I want to see 40-inch quads. I just want to see him totally shrink wrapped, and that will help his physique. And just by nature, his midsection will come down even tighter if he's tighter all around.
Right. Yep.
So, yeah, that's going to be my top 5. It's going to be Phil, Brandon, Hadi, and Bonac, flip-flop either way. Then you're going to have Dexter and Hunter and Rami, whichever way that happens. That's top 6.
Yep.
I think, as I said earlier, if Rami nails it, he could win. If he's off, he's gonna possibly lose again to Dexter, and this time even Hunter.
Yep.
I just love the way Hunter looks. The taper, the roundness, the condition, the size, the shape, the pedigree. Everything makes sense for Hunter to make a very big splash here.
And he looks, the current photos I've seen, I think from last night, or another level of condition that we haven't seen on his past shows. That would be the only knock, right? Is he has this very full round look, but it's a little new muscle. You want a little bit more of a denser, drier, grainier look. and he's a little closer to that this time than we saw
Yeah.
at was it Tampa Pro he won?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think it was almost calculated. I think they did not jam the gas pedal to the floor for the Tampa show. It was more of let's ease in. This is a good look. Hold enough size and fullness to outshape everyone and all that. I want to believe that they were leaving a little bit in the gas tank for this reason exactly, so that he can come out, he's going to really shock people. One of two things are going to happen. He's either going to shock people and move way up to the 5 or even 4 spot, or he's going to look like he did in Tampa and possibly lose to Ian or
Antoine,
or end up in that crew. I don't see that happening, but like Rami, he's either going to do really, really well or be underproductive.
Yep.
There's
high hopes for him for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I have really high hopes for him. I'm a huge fan of him, so much so that I think he's going to win an Olympia at some point. Let's quickly go to 212.
Yep.
Again, we've discussed this many times. Kamal is improved. He's going to be better than he was. So that's a hard recipe to beat. He's a little bit bigger, going to be just as sharp. Amazing presentation on this guy, very polished. Everything from the tan to the posing to knowing how to win. He's a proven winner, arguably the greatest amateur bodybuilder in history, from all the worldwide wins he's had. But there's a guy named George Peterson that's on a mission that's completely out of the norm. He's a tall 212 guy with boulders and boulders of hard, conditioned, mature muscle, dense. So I think George could win. Then there's Derek, who is you want to believe getting better and better as he goes. I think he's the wild card of the group that, sure, Derek could win. I have no problem saying Derek could win, but it's more likely he's going to end up in the 3 to 4 spot this time around, because if he's not good enough to win, then they're going to kind of be like, fuck, I'm sick of seeing this, and they're going to mark him down, and they're going to bump someone like Clarita ahead of him and George ahead of him, because Clarita's getting better too. He's getting bigger, rounder, fuller, supposedly another 8 to 10 pounds bigger than last year.
Yep.
Which I find hard to believe, but
they've been doing it each year. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're going to have Clarita at 170 pounds at 3'9". It's crazy. He's going to be peeled out of his mind.
He's been working with Kai nonstop on the posing and presentation part of it as well.
Yeah. And that is a huge help in changing his mindset to more of a business approach, where he's coming out to put on a show. You can't always think about winning, because it'll distract you from your performance. So go out there, put on a performance, and part of the performance is being 100% polished with your skin, your color, your condition. And when you focus on those things, you end up improving vastly. And I think, the mindset that he's helped to instill into Sean is very important. Sean could win this, but my guesstimation is going to be Kamal repeating, George second narrowly, and a lot of people are going to argue that he could have won. He'll probably win a few shots. Anything from behind, he'll probably win. But don't discount. Kamal's rear double is pretty nuts, with the detail and just the way he's put together. He's probably put together better than George. Yeah. He flows a little better than George. George has the similar structure of like a Bonac or a Kai Green with the really short torso, which is impressive when your back is literally resting on your hips.
Right.
So he's impressive. But I'll have, and as I said earlier, if Derek doesn't win, then I see Sean beating him. So we're going to have Kamal, George, Sean, Derek.
So the interesting thing, the thing to watch for this year is every year, everybody's had really high hopes for Derek, right? He's the heir apparent. He's going to win this thing. And he has the best structure of almost anybody I've ever seen, you know, those
in all of bodybuilding.
Yeah. And, you know, also seeing it in person, you know, when, is whether or not, you know, I think now he got to the point where he agrees that he was off. You know, when we had him on the podcast, and he chalked that up to flying out there, looking ridiculous after the flight, and then nerves getting the best of him and kind of getting a layer of water and things going wrong, right, between the day before. And so if that's true and they have that under control and he can look how we've seen him look in person, just obviously the 212 weighted version of, what was he, 230 when we saw him with striated glutes?
Yeah.
You know,
Heath.
Yeah. And so there's, if he's telling the truth on that was all it was, and he looked ridiculous a day or two out and something went wrong because of his nerves, he can win this. But I think it's more likely that what you're saying is that he's just too damn big for the 212. And you know, I don't know if he was 230, 235, 240. He was absolutely massive when we saw him in person and in crazy condition at that weight. You know, the quads were striated, just everything was already in. I mean, you look at him.
Were striated.
Yep. Like he looked 4 weeks out from an open show.
Right.
You know? And so how do you take that look at somewhere between 230 and 240 and bring it down to 212?
And get better.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Did you look better at 197 or 204? 204. Right. So this is the problem, the conundrum that he's running into. His physique is probably unfreaking beatable at 219, but you suck him down to 212 and shit starts falling apart. He starts flattening out. He starts losing that pop. It's not 35, 38, 40-year-old muscle where it would be near impossible to literally wear it off. Like George's muscle ain't going anywhere.
Right.
Even Clarita's, they suck down. That muscle ain't going anywhere.
And you see, George is a good example, right? Because he got up to like 240, at least like when I saw him, when I trained with him, I think he was around 225, 230, and like almost ready, like basically there, right? Like you could drop water and almost go in. And there's a photo that they put out the other day where he was 218 and he looked bigger and better at 218, you know, like you said, that's not going anywhere. Somehow they find, look, I mean, even in, obviously he looks way better now than he did in Classic, right? So this is sort of an interesting comparison of, he was sucking down in Classic. He looked amazing at, what did he have to weigh? 190 in Classic?
I believe so. 192, 191.
Right. I think it was 192, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
And he looked amazing there. But now you take the, you know, the blocker off the speedometer and he can go, holy shit, is he another ball? You know, like, I think Derek's going to be the same thing, you know, just let him go. And I hopefully, I mean, we'll see this year, right? If this is another year where he looks like last year, you hope someone in his corner is saying, look, let's just move up. You know, like we're not going to be able to pull this off. Your body wants to grow.
I told him that numerous times already. If he isn't able to win, if he doesn't move forward, if this show isn't a success, I mean, if he's neck and neck and it's a half a point decision and he's second, then maybe I would suck it up one more year. But if he clearly is not meant for him, then I would go do the New York Pro if I were him in the open and blast all these guys.
Yeah.
You know, he's that good where he can I would jump right into the open, make that decision, and go. It's not like he needs a year off to get bigger. Just go dial it in at 218, 220, and play with the big boys, because that
Yep.
structure and all the detail he gets when he's at his best. That'd be
Hadi's a
hard to
good
beat.
example, right? Like Hadi's obviously doesn't have Hadi detail, but there's still that wow factor with him, probably at 218, 220.
Yeah.
And Hadi's a good example, and Bonac as well, of you can move up and be, like you said, maybe Hadi is 220 in this Olympia and he's got a shot of winning it, at 220. So
Yeah.
Derek's playing in that ballpark too, he just needs to come in at his best, whatever that weight is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who do you have? So that's top four. We've got who do you have in the that fifth spot, rounding it out?
So the fifth spot is a crazy names of David Henry, Ashkenani, and John Jewett, and then Angel Calderon. Those are all.
You're leaving your boy out, Jose.
Who?
Bo
Kinney. I don't mention him. So Bo, it's tough, because how do you argue it? Bo actually beat George in a couple poses in New York.
Yep.
So how do you leave him 5 spots behind George? Bo, shit. He's a little bit taller. He may not have the freak factor upper body of a David Henry, or the shape. Like when Ashkenani's on, he has that crazy width, and so his silhouette might not look as impressive as Ashkenani's. I would see him matching up better with Jewett, because they're the same height and similar structures. Yeah, it's crazy. I have to pull for my boy David Henry, and if David is better than he has been, and from what he's saying, then there's no reason he can't be fifth or better or win. That's how good David is.
Yep.
I just haven't seen any physique updates. He wouldn't send me any pictures. He's pretty superstitious with that stuff. He's a man on a mission. So I'd have to put David in there. Even though, we've seen some pictures of Ashkenani floating around where his legs look blown up. I think genetically he's never going to have the crazy legs, separation and detail. If he is at his all-time best condition and he's healthy from any of the injuries that he had in the past, he very well could be in there. I don't know. That the Angel Calderon is super impressive, super wide shoulders, crazy chest. I think he's smaller than people think. So when you put him in this lineup, I think his legs are underwhelming. And I think that's what ends up happening. And that's why he ended up at 9th last year or something. He's won 4 shows since or something. And he is very impressive. I think he's going to move up from that 9 spot significantly. But I don't know that he can bang with the top 5 just yet. He needs a little more size. I think he's my height or shorter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I think he's barely 200 pounds. So, which is thick, but I think, when you match him up physique for physique, body part to body part, he's not going to be able to bang with the top 5 guys.
Well, the shows that he's won, he hasn't faced any top guys, right? It's been sort of these European shows with no big names, right?
Yeah, no Olympians. He hasn't beaten an Olympian yet. Actually, he beat Sami Al-Haddad.
Okay.
Who, but Sammy's 48 years old. So, Sammy's clearly not at his best. I don't know that this physique would beat Sammy of 2012, but yeah, that's going to be my pick. I'm going to throw David Henry in there because I feel that he's been quiet. He's taken this whole year to focus on the Olympia. David's one of the best ever. So how do you count him out? That's like saying Dexter's not going to make top 10.
Right.
I can't imagine a situation where David's not fighting for the, within the top 5 group. unless they're just sending messages. I
Right.
didn't see I didn't see an 11th place out of him last year. I
No.
didn't see that. So I think they may have sent him a message last year and message taken, and he's going to come back this year and make some noise. But yeah, the Bo thing, Bo Broku, Jason Lowe,
Yep.
Jason Lowe, you could have made an argument for him to beat Bo at one of those shows.
Yep.
So he's very
And he's been
dangerous.
improving every show, like
Yeah.
drastically, right? From
Yeah.
a guy that was classic and, had that limiter on there to first 212 show, a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
And the last couple, man, he and Chris have figured it out, like
Yeah.
his waist is tiny, his arms are massive, everything flows, very balanced. And they've brought him in conditioned and full.
Yeah. Well,
So,
he's got that weird ability to keep growing and getting harder and improving his physique. I don't know how old he is. He's young, but he's just improving nonstop. So, that being said, where does that put a guy like Guy Sistanino?
yeah.
We're already at the 9 mark when you add all these guys. Let's go through it right now. We're going to have, say, Kamal, George, Sean, Derek, we'll say David, Ashkenani, Jewett, Bo, Jason Lowe, Guy. Does Guy beat Bo or Jason Lowe to come up closer to a Jewett or could he? Sure. If those guys are off, I know Guy's a little lighter than he has been in a few past years, past Olympias. I know he's battled tons of injuries. Guy's never been the biggest guy. So you add a few injuries where he's recovering and not being able to add muscle. Did he have enough muscle to spare to be able to lose muscle and go into the Olympia? So he's going to be in a dogfight because, Bo's tall, big, structure, full, round.
He's another one of those guys, man. When we met him in person, I thought he was 240 pounds. He was so thick and so big.
Yeah.
George Peterson's the same thing. Like, the couple of times I've met him, even when he was still in Classic, I met him. He was probably 215 at the time, and I think I was 210 or so coming down for a show.
Yeah.
And he looked like he had 25 pounds on me. Just the structure of him. Bo was one of those guys too. When we met him at the hotel, he asked us to guess his weight, and I'm like 240, 245. Yeah. And what was he like? Maybe 220?
I don't even. I think he was in the teens.
Yeah, like 215,
219.
I've never been so far off of guessing somebody's weight before.
Yeah, he's massive. So, these guys, that whole group, that second tier. I'm not even going to call them second tier because you're at the Olympia. But that second call out group is going to be wild. That'll be just as interesting as the first call out.
Yep.
To have David Ashkenani, Jewett, who was 4th last year. That's crazy. It's crazy. Last year's 4th place finisher, we're questioning whether he's going to even make second call out. Like,
right.
Because
spot,
because these guys are so good. The guys like Jason Lowe and Bo, and they could easily come in and knock him out. Even Calderon, that guy's so freaky looking. He could come and bump people out of there. So we don't know. And an improved David Henry, I would never have guessed to have John Jewett beat David Henry.
Yeah.
And there was no scenario in my mind where that would have happened. And I don't see it happening again this year, but crazier things have happened.
Yeah, man, I've already bought my pay-per-view. I've I have busy days of clients now that I'm done with competing. I've said, okay, time to get back to work, training clients in person, online coaching. But I've had to block off times. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm missing this. I'm moving clients around. Okay, when's 212 prejudging on. When's this? So
when is it? When is the 212 prejudging? Friday
yeah.
at 1? Friday at noon?
No, it's early. Let me pull it up because I had it up earlier this morning.
Let's make the announcement here. How much is it for the entire weekend?
I want to say it was $50, but it might be a little more because I bought it on the last day of like the pre-sale price. I think it goes up like $5 or $10. So maybe 60.
60 bucks for the whole weekend?
Yeah. Yep. For the whole thing.
Okay.
So 9 a.m. On Friday. I don't know if this is going to be the exact order they're going in, but this is how it's listed. Fitness Olympia, 212, figure, women's physique, and Miss Olympia, all in the 9 a.m. block on Friday.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So according, if this is the order, then 212 goes after Fitness Olympia, early morning 9 a.m. Then you go to nighttime is 7 p.m. on Friday. Starts with the 212 finals, Fitness Olympia finals, Figure Olympia finals, Physique finals, Women's Physique finals, Miss Olympia finals, and then Mr. Olympia prejudging last on Friday night. Saturday morning starts up again.
So this is going to be cool, dude, because normally it's in Vegas and you'd be in bed by the time the Mr. Olympia prejudging.
Super late. Yeah. So the timing's, figure 7 to 10 or 11 or so. I mean, it depends on how much this, it's drawn out with the posing routines, but, and then Saturday, 9 a.m. again, classic physique, men's physique, bikini Olympia, wheelchair. And then you go to 7 p.m. So it's a 9 a.m. and a 7 p.m. time is Mr. Olympia, the men's physique Olympia, bikini Olympia, and classic physique finals.
Yeah.
So 9 a.m., 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday. So 212 will be finished Friday completely.
Yeah.
And
which has been the case for many years.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I wish everyone luck. That's our synopsis of what's about to happen.
We'll come back on and do certainly we'll have a lot to talk about after this because there's going to be some shakeups in the new guard moving up, taking up the old guys. And for me, this is one of the more exciting Olympias that I can remember, being a fan of this, of not only could the winners go a few different ways, but what's interesting is we'll call them the second tier guys, like second call out guys. Yeah. There's some really interesting matchups to see how that's going to go.
Yeah. Well, how exciting is this to have Iris Kyle back?
Yeah.
How crazy is this? I mean, how many years has it been since she competed? And now she's coming back.
At least 5, right? 5 or 6, something like that.
I would say probably more. I'm more excited for that to see the and see the blossoming of Shanique Grant.
Yep.
To superstardom. I mean, she's already a superstar, but I think she's going to put her footprint down this year to the point where you scratch your head and say, is there a human on earth that could beat her if she continues this?
Like that female Phil Heath, where there's such another level separated from the pack.
She's more like a female Lee Haney because Lee Haney retired at 30 years old.
She's so young, right? Yep.
Yeah. Oh man, she could win 15 of these. That's just crazy. So there's a lot to be excited for. I can't wait. I'm gonna order it. I'm gonna be watching it all day long, and
we'll both be eating pizzas like fat slobs.
Yeah.
Judging all these guys up there that are in better shape than us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you're supposed to do it.
I'm like, if I look down and I see an ab, I'm worthy of talking shit. I have one little ab.
I've got 2, but they're going away quickly after this show.
Yeah, well, you only had 4 anyway. That's all right. You still got 50%. Any other good news, Nate? Anything good before we sign off here?
No. I'm. That's it. I'm feeling good. I'm getting ready to get back to training hard and get that damn pro card next year. Yeah.
So what are you thinking? I told Christine I think you shut it down for a little bit and then start heading right towards Team Universe.
Yeah. So I think Universe and Masters Nationals are in the same month, like in July.
Yeah. Why not?
So that might be the plan. I'll be 40 then too. I
Exactly.
turned 40 in April, so maybe do that 35 and up and 40 and up. You get 2 cracks
Yeah.
at each show. So, you know, I'll be working on my posing starting now. You know,
Yeah.
the message received from the judges of I'm not going to lose because of I can't keep my quads flexed again. So,
Right.
and then we'll be better. You know, this show was my best look, and you know, thanks to the grueling workouts with you crushing legs every week, my legs came up a lot, my back came up a lot. So
Yeah.
we'll keep making improvements.
That was a
Goal
huge
is,
thing I noticed was your back improvement. And this is pretty good for people to hear is Nate can't deadlift. We're really limited on how much weight we can use on bent rows. Anything that's not supported, really. We're not squatting or deadlifting, and you were able to put on significant thickness in your mid back.
yeah,
It
using a
looks
lot
like
of
you deadlifted.
chest supported movements. You know,
Right.
if we deadlifted, man, on a good day I could get up to 315. You know, and
Yeah.
without my lower back hurting, but that's probably my limit. So yeah, a lot of limitations, but you work around them. You find ways
Right.
to still hit the muscle. You know, so for back stuff, a lot of chest supported movements, and for legs, you know, I don't know that I squatted once, but we did tons of everything else. You know,
Right.
hack squats, pendulum squats, leg press,
Yeah.
walking lunges, everything under the sun. You know,
Yeah.
as long as it didn't hurt my back, we pushed hard on it.
Well, we made it work. We're gonna make it work further.
Exactly.
So, all right, you enjoy the rest of your day, and let's get this up and see if people agree with our opinions.
Yeah,
See
let
if
us
people
know in the
wanna-
comments for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Give us some comments, some questions for future shit you'd like to hear. All right,
All right, sounds good, Jose.
all right, buddy. We'll talk soon.